I'm so happy to be here. For those who do not know me, I'm Reverend Paula Maiorano. I served in a transitional time here for a couple of years, and it's so great to be back and to see that transition has led you to new bloom. You really, since it's the beginning of the season, I will say you really are springing forth. I heard your capital campaign was a success. I can't wait to see all the renovations. I'm really happy that I saw the before and the after, and I just love what you're doing. Some of you remember that my lung cancer had metastasized when I first came here. And when I left, so tired and discouraged, I thought I really only had a very limited time to live. And yet I seem to be one of those people that are just going to stay above the median of this drug that I'm on. I am so healthy except for the darn cancer. Of course, that was like somebody saying, and who? Abraham Lincoln was really healthy except he got shot. But I'm sorry, I'm in a good mood to be here with you. No, seriously, it just really looks like this drug that I'm on is going to keep me going for a long time. So I'll be back when you're doing whatever celebration you're doing after all the renovations are done. That's terrific. So now let's center ourselves for worship. Let's center ourselves in the original development of the word worship from an old W-E-O-T-H, meaning worth, and of course ship, carrier of that of which is of worth to us. So let's center into what we hold most dear and most worthy, and be centered in that throughout the service. Come, let us worship together.
Before we light the chalice, I'm going to read a few words. Now, to face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our hearts, our spirits, and our lives. Now we will now light the chalice.
Well, I'm equipped with my Ricolas and tissues, and so I can hopefully get through this so you can all understand my words. When Andrea Harding reminded me that the worship committee needed a sermon blurb, it was soon after the Ukraine war had first erupted. And I had put aside what I was going to do, and I really didn't know what I was going to say when I came here. And as I was trying to think of whatever it was I was going to say, the words to the hymn, Return Again, kept going through my mind. Now, Return Again isn't a hymn that I sing to myself regularly, but it is a hymn that I know is really loved here, and that we sing a lot, and I know that the women's group also sings it a lot. And I said, Return Again. As I didn't say it's been 3 years, but it has been 3 years since I've served here, almost 3 years, and still my unconscious remembered how important this hymn is. I remembered how restorative the hymn is, centering each of us in ourself in our breath, in alignment with the power of life. The hymn is its own mystery, transforming a mood, offering offering comfort, accompanying us in our sadness or our joy. We need all of this so much today, and I'm going to ask someone to please bring me some water, or I'm not going to make it through. Thank you. I very foolishly grabbed my coffee mug instead of my water mug when I got out of the car. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has inflicted a moral injury on the people of the world. Watching what is happening, we see that which is clearly wrong, inhumane, evil, anathema to all of us. We UUs participate in a worldview which perceives existence as interconnected and interdependent, all part of the same fabric of life. Oh, great, a nice mug. Thank you very much. Our unconsciousness is woven together by our common humanity. A tear in the fabric wounds all of us. We are already suffering from the 2 years of a pandemic that in the months of winter, when we need one another the most, quarantines us at best and sickens us at worst. Fortunately, this is really just a cold. We struggle to hold together our own U.S. democracy, destabilized by opposing values and/or methodologies. In the here and now, we herald the return of spring, however. Isn't it wonderful? And you really, I only live a half hour north of you, and your spring is further advanced than ours is. It was great to see the pink blooms. We don't have them yet. Spring is a season of renewal, the theme of this month's Soul Matters. It's wonderful that members, friends, visitors are again able to worship together in person, seeking comfort and strength, laughter and fun in a community of care with others also dedicated to living our values and supporting a center of worship which expresses them. And Glenn, when you offered your joy, when you were up at the podium, I wanted to ask you, is that a joy or a sorrow? Okay, I wanted to be sure. I feel confident, even though I haven't seen you for a long time, that as I look forward to listening to messages that give us hope in humanity's future, help us to renew our thoughts in candid reflection, thoughts which sustain our interior alignments, helps us to draw energy from each other, to sing and meditate together, even if spatially apart, as are our viewers on Zoom. Extraordinarily technical adjustments by members help all who want to participate in weekly worship as sacred time. We separate ourselves on Sunday morning from other activities to be here. A kind of withdrawal, if you will, from everyday life. I have to get used again to such a wide room. In his book, Constellations, the solace, nourishment, and underlining meaning of everyday words, author David White wrote on the word withdrawal. White said, "We withdraw to find another ground from which to see, a solid ground from which to step, and from which to speak again in a different way with a clear, rested, embodied voice. Our life becomes a suddenly emphatic statement and one from which we do not wish to withdraw. In other words, my words, we withdraw from ordinary life to return to ourselves. This is a return to what some call our true and most authentic self, and which the Return Again hymn composer calls our soul. It's the part of us that is in touch with life, in all its wonder, joy, awe, and terror. It's the closest we can come to the mysterious power that animates every living thing, a mysterious power that sustains what we call our life, a power that ends it as well. We do not know where we come from when we are born, nor where we go when we die. We know only our life between these two bookends of our existence. And if we are attentive, we will notice a mysterious power at the center of our unique being. We will experience it as we are changed and transformed in the way a candle becomes light as it is touched by flame. The short hymn, Return Again, is calling us to return to our center, our light, the place from which we do not want to withdraw. It calls us to return to the land of your soul, again and again, to what and who you are, to the place where you are born and reborn, to your most essential self. Not only your most essential self, but if we pay attention to a mysterious oneness with the existence of all life. When our essential self is at one with the all, and when I say all, I just mean all that is, we have entered the realm of the mystics. I've always considered myself something of a mystic. In my view, and this has been since I was really quite young, we are all part of one larger reality which we cannot understand, but can experience. We should want to experience life in its fullness. I and so many others understand that the mystical traditions found in all 6 of the religions which have shaped the major civilizations that exist today, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, that was with a slash, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all the mystical traditions of those religions, as different as those religions are similar. The Center for Sacred Sciences, now I'm just going to pause for an explanation here. The Center of Sacred Sciences believes that this mystical tradition and what science is after are eventually going to be understood as one whole. The Center for Sacred Sciences says so much that so many scholars have come to view mystical teachings as a single perennial philosophy. They liken it to some irrepressible flower which keeps blooming again and again in the human psyche. So, repeat that. They liken it to some irrepressible flower which keeps blooming again and again in the human psyche. Mystics say ultimate reality is not a thing. They all agree that this emptiness or know-nothingness is not a mere vacuum. It is radiant with the light of pure spirit, our spirit of life. Or, some of them say, of consciousness itself. A more contemporary form of the ancient and monistic disciplines of mysticism abound today in the practice of contemplation, which can be religious or not associated with religion. I'm planning, for instance, to take a retreat in June at the Temenos Retreat Center in Westchester on alignment, a contemplative practice of alignment. And Temenos has no religion that it seeks. It's open to all faiths or no faith. However, I am also attracted to the religious writers in the traditions, all of them that I mentioned and many more. Today, one of my favorites is the Franciscan Richard Rohr, founder of the Center for Contemplation and Action in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He wrote that the contemplative mind is about receiving and being present to the moment, to the now, without judgment, analysis, or critique. Very close to Buddhism if done well. Contemplative knowing is a much more holistic, heart-centered knowing, where mind, heart, soul, and senses are open and receptive to the moment just as the moment is. In other words, I'm not paying attention to my cold because the moment's okay, I'm here with you. It's great. This is how you come to live things in themselves and as themselves, wrote Rohr. You learn not to divide the field of the moment or eliminate anything that threatens your ego, but to hold everything, both the attractive and the unpleasant, together in one accepting glaze. I know some of you here have practiced that.
Indeed, when our sons were young children, I used to look forward to their nap time as my contemplation time. In the good weather, I took a bedroom sound monitor with me and sat on our above-ground deck, enjoying the woods and sky behind our home, thinking thoughts that I otherwise had no time for. One day, it was in late fall, my mind emptied after a time of thought, and I was experiencing an at-oneness with time, although that descriptive language only came later. A leaf from a very tall tree dropped off, and my eyes followed its dance in the gentle wind, while my body entered a state of pure joy. Before the leaf hit the ground, I was filled with a sense of presence that I remember clearly. I felt as if we're not alone, that I was experiencing the fullness of love, giving me a feeling of safety and joy. Those brief moments changed my whole orientation to life forever. In those brief moments, I came to know what wholeness felt like. The knowledge led my pursuits ever since. The years of study, therapy, and service in love, in my home, in the community, and in the congregation. But retirement has brought a challenge of disorientation. I am struggling to find my way back to joy after giving up work that centered my life. My favorite authors and poets are very helpful. One has been helpful relating to the journey towards joy. It's David White's A Short Essay on Joy in the same book, Consolations, I earlier named. The first paragraph is the closest description of the transformation I experienced many years ago while my eyes followed a leaf dancing in the breeze. White wrote, "Joy is a meeting place of deep intentionality and of self-forgetting, the bodily alchemy of what lies inside us in communion with what formerly seemed outside, a voice speaking between us and the world, dance, laughter, affection, skin touching skin, singing in the car, music in the kitchen, the quiet, irreplaceable, and companionable presence of a daughter," in Paula's case, sons. "The sheer intoxicating beauty of the world inhabited as an edge between what we previously thought was us and what we thought was other than us." In the next paragraph, White acknowledges the depth of the joy experience. He says, "The more we are at peace with the reality of death, the easier it is to find joy in our existence." Joy can be made by practiced, hard-won achievement as much as by an unlooked-for, passing act of grace arrive out of nowhere. Joy is a measure of our relationship to death and our living with death. Joy is an act of giving ourselves away before we need to or are asked to. Joy is also the raw engagement with the passing seasonality of existence, the fleeting presence of those we love understood as gift, going in and out of our lives, faces, voices, memory, aromas of the first spring day or a wood fire in winter, the last breath of a dying parent as they cease. It's a beautiful, raw frontier between loving presence and a new blossoming absence. To feel a full and untrammeled joy is to have become fully generous. To allow ourselves to be joyful is to have walked through the doorway of fear, the dropping away of the anxious, worried self, felt like a thankful death itself, a disappearance, a giving away, overheard in the laughter of friendship, the vulnerability of happiness felt suddenly as a strength, a solace, a source, the claiming of our place in the living conversation, the sheer privilege of being in the presence of a mountain, a sky, or a well-loved favorite face. I was here, and you were here, and together we made a world. And so I am here, and you are here, and together we know that life is always a new beginning. And the best way to begin is to return again to our core, to return to what some call our true and most authentic self, and which the Return Again hymn composer says our soul, the part of us that is in touch with life in all its wonder, awe, terror, and mystery, the part that understands we are life itself. We continue our love for this world and the values of our faith to light the darkness brought on by the evil of the war, the indifference of the virus, and all the usual difficulties of being human. Along with the mountain and the sky and the grains of sand on the beach, we are part of the whole, to which we return again and again, so that we may begin again and again and again. So be it.
For those here, please stand if you like and join in reading aloud the chalice extinguishing. The words are on the screen. Those on Zoom, please join as well, but stay muted. We now extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of understanding, the warmth of this community, or the fire of commitment, which we hold precious in our hearts to share with the world every day until we are together again.
Get through my benediction, shall I? May your hearts always be in a holy place. And a holy place is not necessarily, when I was little, we used to call it goody two-shoes. It's a place of openness, of sharing, of embracing life, of loving self, loving the other, even when you don't like them. And it's not a place where we say it's okay to do bad things. When our hearts are in a holy place, we call evil what it is. May you recognize the evil. May you stand against the evil. May your hearts always be full of love. May you be a light that shines and shines until the world is transformed and human consciousness itself is transformed. Generation after generation after generation, until I can't speak for viruses, but some of the other evil that we have to contend with, the kind that is just not human, may it be extinguished from humanity. And so it may not be in our lifetimes. It may not be in our children's lifetimes. But we make progress even as the world seems so bleak. The news is filled with the bleak, but it could be filled with progress. And we can, and may you never lose hope. Never lose faith, because hope and faith and living from the fullness of love is the only thing that's going to survive, allow us to survive in the long term. I speak from a woman who left you when she thought she was going to die. I know of which when I thought I was going to die. These thoughts came from that time. These thoughts of love. These thoughts of love were the intensity of the grief we feel when we lose someone or a part of ourselves, or know we're going to lose our life. The intensity of that grief is correlated to the intensity of our love. I don't know the exact words, but Nancy Cook speaks of just holding on to the dirt in this place. And I saw gardeners coming. I mean, as I was coming in, I saw the gardeners out there in the community gardens working, and I said, yes, you are rebuilding. May you stand here as a beacon of the light, for as long as it takes for the light to embrace all.